Commander Junho rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the large screen in front of him. Red warning lights flashed across the control room of Frairen Station. His gray uniform felt tight around his neck as worry set in. Something was wrong with the quantum wave barrier, humanity's shield against the dangerous void creatures that lived in the space between dimensions. "Status report," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. Lieutenant Hana pushed her short black hair away from her face and looked up from her screen. "Commander, we have a problem in Sector 7. The barrier is becoming weak. There's a small hole forming." Junho walked closer to the main display. The massive space station Frairen, home to 10,000 people, shook slightly as energy rushed through its systems. Warning sounds filled the air. The barrier that had protected them for years was failing. "Show me the exact location," he ordered. Hana's fingers moved quickly across her control panel. The screen zoomed in on a section of the outer hull where blue energy normally flowed smoothly. Now that energy swirled and broke apart around a dark spot that seemed to grow larger with each passing minute. "Have we ever seen anything like this before?" Junho asked, leaning forward to study the strange patterns. "No, sir," said Officer Daehyun from his station nearby. His young face looked pale in the flashing red lights. "The computer can't explain it either. The energy patterns are unusual." Junho pressed a button on his wrist device. "This is Commander Junho. I need all senior staff in the command center immediately. This is not a drill." Across the room, Communications Officer Ji Young received an incoming message. "Commander Rimiki Station is calling. They've detected our barrier problem from their position." Junho nodded. "Put them on the main screen." The worried face of Chief Science Officer Taewon appeared. The older man's normally neat appearance looked rushed, as if he had been woken from sleep. Behind him, the command center of Rimiki Station buzzed with activity. "Commander Junho, our sensors detected your barrier failure," Taewon said. "We're reading strange energy patterns unlike anything in our database." "We're still gathering data," Junho replied, "but this doesn't look like a random failure. The patterns seem almost planned." Taewon's eyes widened. "That matches our initial analysis. I've called in Dr. Mirai to study the data. If anyone can make sense of this, she can." As if summoned by her name, a woman with glasses and a serious expression appeared beside Taewon. Dr. Mirai had earned respect throughout the human colonies for her brilliant work on quantum physics and barrier technology. "Commander," she greeted with a quick nod. "I've been watching the data stream from your station. The breach pattern shows signs of intelligence. Something is trying to come through and it's using our own barrier technology against us." A new alarm sounded, louder than the others. Hana turned to Junho, her face tight with fear. "Sir, the breach is growing faster. At this rate, it will break through completely in less than 30 minutes. "Can we repair it?" Junho asked. Engineer Jin Woo stepped forward, having just arrived at the command center. His hands were stained with mechanical fluid, suggesting he had been in the middle of repairs elsewhere when the alarm sounded. "Not from here," Jin Woo said. "The barrier systems are rejecting our remote commands. We'll need to send a team to the actual breach site to stabilize it manually." Junho made his decision quickly. "Prepare a response team, full protection gear and quantum stabilizers. I want our best people on this." On the screen, Dr. Mirai spoke up. "Commander, I strongly advise caution. If my analysis is correct, whatever is creating this breach is highly advanced. It understands our barrier technology well enough to manipulate it." "Understood," Junho said. "But we can't just wait for the breach to widen. 10,000 lives are at risk on this station." As the command center staff rushed to prepare, strange lights began to flicker through the station's normal lighting. Several control panels displayed unusual symbols before returning to normal. The station's central computer announced in its flat voice, "Warning, unknown data packets detected in main systems. Security protocols activated." Jin Woo looked up from his tablet with alarm. "Commander, something is accessing our computers through the breach. It's not just a physical problem anymore. We're being hacked." Captain Sang-min entered the command center, already dressed in his response team gear. 5 similarly equipped crew members followed him. "Response team ready, Commander," Sang-min reported. His calm voice contrasted with the tension filling the room. Junho turned to address them. "Your mission is to reach the breach site and deploy emergency barrier stabilizers. Do not engage with anything that might come through. This is reconnaissance and repair only." As the team prepared to leave, Dr. Mirei's voice came through the communication system again. "Captain Sang-min, we're sending new data to your team's devices. The breach is showing patterns we believe might be a form of communication. If something tries to interact with you, this information might help you understand its intentions." Sang-min acknowledged the data transfer with a quick nod. "Received. We'll proceed with caution." The response team left the command center, heading toward the outer hull where the breach was forming. As they walked through the station's corridors, they passed worried crew members and civilians who had noticed the emergency lights and announcements. Back in the command center, Junho opened a station-wide communication channel. "Attention, all personnel and civilians. This is Commander Junho. We are experiencing a barrier anomaly in Sector 7. This is not an immediate evacuation situation, but all non-essential personnel should return to their quarters and prepare for possible emergency procedures." As he finished the announcement, the lights throughout the station flickered again. For a brief moment, every screen in the command center displayed the same strange symbol, a swirling pattern that resembled the breach itself. Lieutenant Hana looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, whatever is coming through the breach, I think it's already here." On the main screen, the dark spot in the barrier had grown considerably. Tendrils of energy, unlike anything they had seen before, reached through the opening like searching fingers. The breach in the wave had begun. Captain Sang-min led his team through the narrow maintenance corridors of Frairen's outer section. Their heavy boots echoed against the metal floors as they moved closer to the breach site. Each member wore a special protective suit designed to shield them from unusual energy and space exposure. "Stay close," Sang-min ordered through their communication system. "Remember your training. Do not touch anything strange." The team's devices beeped steadily, measuring the growing energy levels as they approached Sector 7. The corridor lights flickered more frequently here, sometimes going out completely for a few seconds before coming back on. "Captain, I don't like this," said Officer Yuna, the team's security specialist. Her hand rested on her energy weapon. "The readings are off the charts." Sang-min checked his own device. The energy patterns made no sense. They shifted and changed in ways that defied normal physics. "Keep moving. We need to reach the stabilizer control point." As they turned the final corner, they saw it. The corridor ahead seemed to waver and bend, as if they were looking through water. The metal walls rippled like fabric in a breeze. Floating balls of blue light drifted through the air. Engineer Du Young gasped. "The metal is changing at the molecular level. It's like the breach is rewriting the matter around it." Sang-min approached carefully, scanning the area with his handheld device. "Jinwoo, are you seeing this?" he asked, sending video back to the command center. "We see it." Jinwoo's voice came through the communication system. "The barrier is completely failing in that section. You need to set up the stabilizers immediately." The team moved forward, setting up 3 large devices around the distorted area. Du Young worked quickly, connecting the stabilizers to the station's power system. Activating in 3, 2, 1, Du Young pressed the final button. The stabilizers hummed to life, creating a new energy field that pushed against the distortion. For a moment it seemed to work. The rippling slowed, and the floating lights dimmed. Then a massive surge of energy burst from the breach point. The stabilizers sparked and smoked as they overloaded. A blinding flash of blue light filled the corridor, forcing the team to cover their eyes despite their protective visors. When they could see again, something stood before them. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its body was transparent and flickered like a hologram, yet somehow it seemed solid. Blue energy swirled inside its form, creating patterns that resembled internal organs and bones. Where a face should be, there was a swirling vortex of light. The team froze, weapons half raised. "Do not fire," Sang-min ordered, his voice tense but controlled. The entity tilted its head, studying them. Then, without its mouth moving, words appeared in their minds. "I am Seok," the voice said directly into their thoughts. "I come from the wave. Your barrier cuts through our home. We wish to understand why." Back in the command center, Commander Junho watched the encounter through the team's video feed. His face had gone pale. "It's communicating telepathically," Dr. Mirai said from the Rimiki video link. "This is incredible. It's using quantum entanglement to bypass normal speech." Junho leaned closer to his microphone. "Captain Sang-min, proceed with extreme caution. Try to communicate peacefully." On the screen they watched as Sang-min took a step forward. "I am Captain Sang-min of Frairen Station," he said carefully. "We built the barrier for protection. We did not know it affected your home." The entity Seok moved closer, its form rippling. "Your barrier does more than protect. It takes energy from the wave. We have felt this drain for many cycles." In the command center, Jinwoo looked at Junho with confusion. "Sir, the barrier isn't designed to harvest energy, it's just a shield." Before Junho could respond, an urgent call came through from Rimiki Station. The face of Security Chief Yoon appeared next to Taiwan. "Frairen Command, we have a situation," Yoon reported, her voice tight with tension. "Similar breaches are forming on Rimiki, multiple locations." Taiwan moved closer to the camera. "Whatever is happening there is spreading to us. Dr. Mirai is heading to our main breach site now." On Rimiki Station, Dr. Mirai hurried through the corridors with a small research team. Unlike Frairen's military response, Mirai had insisted on bringing scientists to study the phenomenon. They carried scanning equipment instead of weapons. When they reached the breach site in Rimiki's research wing, Mirai stopped in surprise. The distortion here looked different, angrier somehow. Red energy sparked around the edges of a tear in reality. Before she could set up her equipment, another entity emerged. This one's form shifted constantly, never settling on a single shape. Its energy looked chaotic and disturbed. "Your kind pushes too deeply into the wave," a harsh voice filled Mirai's mind. "The consequences will reach beyond what you can imagine." Mirai stepped forward despite her fear. "We don't understand. What is the wave? How are we affecting it?" The entity's form expanded, filling more of the corridor. "I am Yoon. The wave is everything between your dimensions. You tear it apart with your technology, steal its essence." Back on Frairen, Seok was sharing similar information with Sang-min's team. "Your barrier creates wounds in the wave," Seok explained. "These wounds leak energy that your stations collect and use." In the command center, Commander Junho received an urgent private message from Earth Command. His eyes widened as he read it. "Sir," Lieutenant Hana called out, "more breaches are forming. Sectors 3, 9, and 12 now show barrier failures." Junho stood up straight, his face troubled. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command, highest security level, and recall Sang-min's team immediately." "But sir," Jinwoo protested, "we haven't stabilized the first breach yet." "New orders," Junho said firmly. "We need to reassess the situation." On the private channel to Earth Command, a stern-faced general appeared. "Commander Junho, your station has been compromised. Initiate Protocol Sundown immediately." "General, we're in first contact with a new life form," Junho argued. "They claim our barrier harms their dimension. Is there something about the barrier technology I haven't been told?" The general's expression hardened. "That information is classified, Commander. Initiate Protocol Sundown now. That's an order." As though Junho wrestled with this troubling development, Officer Ji Young made another discovery. "Commander," she called out, "I'm detecting unusual data transfers throughout our systems. The entity isn't just communicating with our team, it's communicating with our computers." Jinwoo rushed to a nearby console. "She's right. Something is accessing our database, reading files about Earth, our colonies, our technology, everything." On Rimiki, Dr. Mirai made a similar discovery while talking with Yoon. The entity seemed particularly interested in how humans had developed the barrier technology. Your people took knowledge that wasn't meant for you, Yoon told her. The old ones left fragments of wave science in your world as a test. You were not ready. Mireille felt a chill run down her spine. Old ones? What old ones? Yoon's form pulsed with red energy. Those who came before both our kinds. They watch still, from the deep wave. And they are not pleased. The lights on both stations flickered simultaneously as more breaches began to form throughout the human outposts. The first contact had begun, but it was rapidly becoming clear that humans were not the only ones making contact today. Something else was watching. Something older than both humans and wave beings. And it was waking up. Commander Junho stood in the small, secure meeting room adjacent to Frairen's command center. The walls were designed to block all signals, making this the only truly private space on the station. Across from him sat Director Sujin, Earth's political representative on Frairen. Her neat black suit and perfect posture made her look more like a statue than a person. Tell me the truth, Junho demanded, placing his hands flat on the table between them. Is Earth harvesting energy from this wave dimension? Sujin's face remained calm, but her eyes hardened. Yes. That was always the primary purpose of the barrier project, so the protection it provides against void creatures is real, but secondary, she finished for him. After the resource wars 50 years ago, Earth was desperate for new energy sources. Our scientists discovered the wave dimension and found a way to draw power from it. Junho felt anger rising in his chest. And you never thought to tell the station commanders? 10,000 lives are at risk on Frairen alone, and we weren't given the full story about the technology we depend on. It was classified at the highest level, Sujin said simply. Earth Command decided that station personnel would perform better if they believed they were simply operating a defensive system rather than an experimental energy collector. Junho turned away, trying to control his anger. On the small screen in the room, he could see the command center where his crew worked frantically to contain the growing breaches. They were good people. They deserved better than this. Meanwhile, Captain Sangmin and his team had retreated to a safe distance from the breach, but they maintained communication with Seok, the wave entity. Your leaders hide much from you, Seok told them, its form rippling with blue energy. The barriers between our worlds were not meant to be permanent or one-sided. Officer Yuna kept her weapon ready but lowered. What do you mean, one-sided? The barrier was designed to allow energy to flow from our dimension to yours. But nothing flows back, Seok explained. It creates an imbalance that tears at the fabric of the wave. Many of my kind have been destroyed by these tears. Du Young, the engineer, studied his readings. That matches what we're seeing. The barrier isn't just a shield, it's more like a straw sucking up energy. On Rimiki Station, Dr. Mireille made a discovery while analyzing data from her conversation with Yoon. She called Chief Science Officer Taewon to her laboratory. Look at this, she said, pointing to her screen. The display showed two waveform patterns side by side. The left is a recording of Yoon's energy signature. The right is from our database, a human brainwave pattern. Taewon leaned closer. They're similar but not identical. They're evolving, Mireille said, her voice filled with both excitement and worry. The wave beings are changing because of their contact with our technology. They're developing patterns that mimic human consciousness. She pulled up more data. And these are readings from the newer breaches. The wave entities coming through now are different from Seok and Yoon. They're hybrids, part wave energy, part something closer to physical matter. Are you saying our barrier is causing them to evolve? Taewon asked, his face pale. Not just evolve, Mireille replied. Yoon told me they're becoming something new, neither fully wave beings nor physical beings. They're trapped between dimensions, unable to return to their natural state. Back on Frairen, Communications Officer Ji Young made a startling discovery. She had been analyzing the strange data patterns moving through the station systems when she noticed something unusual. Commander, she called out when Junho returned to the command center. These data signatures, they've been in our systems before. Junho moved to her station. What do you mean? I compared them to our security logs, Ji-young explained, pointing to her screen. Similar patterns have been detected over the past 3 years, but they were always classified as sensor errors or system glitches. They've been watching us, Jinwoo realized, looking up from his own console. Using the barrier itself to spy on us. Lieutenant Hana joined them, bringing more troubling news. Sir, we've lost contact with 3 maintenance workers near breach. Site 2. Their life signs are still active, but they're not responding to communications. Junho's face darkened with worry. He opened a channel to Captain Sang-min. Captain, we need eyes on breach Site 2 immediately. We have missing personnel. Understood, Commander, Sang-min replied. We're moving now. Sang-min turned to his team. New mission. Stay alert. As they approached the second breach site, they found the corridor strangely altered. The walls had a shimmering liquid-like quality. The floor rippled under their boots. Life signs ahead, Officer Yuna reported, checking her scanner. But something's wrong with the readings. They're fluctuating. They rounded the corner and stopped in shock. The 3 maintenance workers stood motionless, but their bodies were changing. Wave energy swirled around and through them. Their skin had a translucent quality and patterns of light moved beneath it. Don't move closer, Sang-min ordered his team. Jinwoo, are you seeing this? In the command center, Jinwoo and the others watched the feed with horror. What's happening to them? Jinwoo whispered. One of the workers turned slowly toward the team. When he spoke, his voice had an echo quality, as if coming from far away. We can see now, he said. We can see both sides. On Rimiki, Dr. Mireille had a breakthrough in understanding what was happening. She rushed to find Security Chief Yoon. It's not an invasion, Mireille explained urgently. It's integration. The wave beings are trying to merge with us, not to harm us, but to survive. Chief, Yoon looked skeptical. That doesn't explain why they're attacking our systems and taking over our people. They're not attacking. They're connecting, Mireille insisted. Our barrier technology is destroying their dimension. They can't survive there anymore, so they're trying to adapt to ours. The ones who come through the breaches are desperate. Before Yoon could respond, an alarm sounded. Security breach in main control systems, the station computer announced. Unknown access detected. Across both stations, screens flickered and displayed the same message. The old ones awaken, the balance must be restored. In the secure communication room, Commander Junho faced General Kim from Earth Command on the video screen. Their conversation had grown heated. You need to increase power to the barriers and force these entities back, the general demanded. That would kill our people who have been affected, Junho argued. And from what we're learning, it would cause even more damage to the wave dimension. The general's face hardened. Those are acceptable losses compared to the energy we need. Earth can't survive without the wave energy. Billions will die if we lose that power source. So we sacrifice one species to save our own? Junho asked, disgust clear in his voice. Without hesitation, the general replied coldly, as their argument continued. Neither man noticed the small distortion forming in the corner of the supposedly secure room. A tiny breach opened, and through it, something watched and listened. Something ancient that had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The hidden truth was finally exposed, but it was only the beginning of a much larger revelation that would change both dimensions forever. Alarms blared throughout Frairen Station as Commander Junho rushed back to the command center. The situation was getting worse by the minute. On the main screen, red dots showed breaches appearing all over the station map. Status report, Junho demanded, his voice tight with tension. Lieutenant Hana looked up from her station. Sir, Earth Command has overridden our systems. They're increasing power to the barriers from their control center on Earth. Jinwoo slammed his fist on his console. That's making everything worse. The increased power is causing more tears in the barrier, not fewer. On the screen showing Captain Sang-min's location, they could see the immediate effects. The wave energy. Around the transformed maintenance workers grew brighter and more unstable. The workers themselves began to writhe in pain. "Commander," Sang Min's voice came through, breaking up with static. "Something's happening to them. The energy increase is hurting them." One of the workers turned to Sang Min, his eyes now glowing blue. "They are killing us," he said, his voice a strange mixture of human and something else. "Both us and them." Near Breach Site 1, Siak's previously calm form began to change. The entity grew larger, its blue energy darkening to a threatening purple. "Your leaders betray our trust," Siak told the security team stationed there. "We offered understanding, and you respond with more theft, more destruction." The breach behind. Siak expanded suddenly, tearing open a hole nearly 3 meters wide. Emergency alarms triggered as that section began to lose air pressure. Heavy safety doors slammed shut automatically, trapping several crew members in the affected area. "Hull. Breach in Sector 7, Hana called out. "Containment doors activated." "Get those people out of there," Junho ordered. "Emergency teams to Sector 7 immediately." But it was too late. Through the security cameras, they watched in horror as the trapped crew were pulled toward the breach by an invisible force. Their bodies distorted as they neared the opening, stretching in impossible ways before disappearing into the glowing tier. On Rimiki Station, the situation was equally dire. Dr. Mirai and her team were racing against time to understand what was happening and find a solution. "The increased power is destabilizing both dimensions," Mirai explained to Chief Science Officer Taewan as they hurried through the corridors. "The wave beings are reacting defensively now. They think we're attacking them on purpose." They reached the main science lab where Yoon, the wave entity, waited. Unlike Seok on Frairen, Yoon had not grown violent, but its form flickered with distress. "Your kind has chosen destruction," Yoon said as they entered. "There are those among my people who now demand we eliminate your stations completely." Mirai stepped forward. "Not all of us knew the truth. Many of us want to help." "I have argued for peace," Yoon replied. "But my influence weakens as your kind continues to damage our realm. The faction that wants your destruction grows stronger with each moment." Security Chief Yoon entered the lab with a team of armed officers. "Dr. Mirai, we have orders from Earth Command to secure all breach sites and eliminate any entities." Mirai stood between Yoon's team and Yoon. "No, that will only make things worse. We need to work together, or both our kinds will suffer." Throughout both stations, more breaches formed. In some areas, the walls between dimensions had grown so thin that crew members reported seeing glimpses of the wave world, a beautiful but alien landscape of flowing energy and impossible shapes. Back on Frairen, Major Hyunjae led a security team armed with experimental weapons designed to disrupt the wave energy. They approached one of the larger breaches cautiously. "Remember your training," Hyunjae told his team. "Fire only on my command." Through the breach came 3 wave entities, their forms more aggressive and angular than Seok's had been. Without warning, they sent out pulses of energy that knocked the human team backward. Hyunjae recovered quickly and gave the order to fire. The specialized weapons released beams of focused energy that cut through the entities, but to the team's horror, the weapons seemed to cause the entities pain without stopping them. One entity reached out and touched Officer Minho. The young security officer screamed as his body began to dissolve into patterns of light, drawn into the entity like water into a sponge. "Fall back. Everyone fall back," Hyunjae ordered, firing his weapon to cover their retreat. 2 more officers were caught by the entities before they could escape. The major watched helplessly as his team members vanished, their essences absorbed by the wave beings. In the command center, Commander Junho was fighting his own battle. He had managed to establish direct communication with Director Kang, the head of the entire barrier project on Earth. "The stations are lost," Junho argued. "Continuing to increase power will only result in more deaths on both sides. We need to try something else." Director Kang's face showed no emotion. "The energy is more important than the stations, Commander. Earth needs that power to survive." "Then let us try to negotiate with the wave beings," Junho pleaded. "They're intelligent. They understand the situation better than we do." There might be a way to share the energy without destroying their dimension. As they argued, Jinwoo was working frantically with a small team of engineers. They had gathered in a makeshift lab near the heart of Frairen Station, away from the command center. If we can modify the barrier to create a stable interface zone, Jinwoo explained, showing his plans to the others, we might be able to allow energy exchange in both directions instead of just taking from them. Engineer Du Young, who had returned from Captain Sang Min's team, nodded in understanding. It would be like creating a membrane that allows controlled flow in both directions, rather than a one-way drain. On Rimiki, Dr. Mirai had come to the Yao, same conclusion independently. She showed her calculations to Yoon. If we reconfigure the barrier like this, she explained, pointing to her tablet, it could create a balanced energy exchange. Your dimension would no longer be drained, and ours could still receive the energy we need. Yoon studied the design, its form pulsing thoughtfully. This might work, but it would require your leaders to accept getting less energy than they currently take. I believe they'll have to accept it, Mirai said firmly. The alternative is losing everything. As both stations worked on solutions, the mysterious message appeared again on all screens. The old ones awaken. The balance must be restored. This time, it was followed by something new, a complex pattern of light that spread across every display. The pattern seemed to contain information, a kind of blueprint that both humans and wave beings could somehow understand. In the secure room, on Frairen, the small breach in the corner grew larger. From it emerged a being unlike any they had seen before. It was neither human nor like the other wave entities. Its form shifted between solid and energy, ancient and new, familiar and alien all at once. The time of separation is ending, it announced to the empty room. The experiment concludes. Throughout both stations, all the breaches suddenly stabilized, neither growing nor shrinking. The violent attacks stopped. Every screen displayed a countdown. 12 hours until convergence. The Keri crisis had reached its turning point. What happened next would determine the fate of both dimensions. 11 hours remained on the countdown when Commander Junho called an emergency meeting of all senior staff on Frairen. The holographic system allowed leaders from Rimiki to join as well. The room was filled with tension as everyone took their places. We have less than half a day before whatever convergence means happens, Junho began, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. We need a plan, and we need it now. Jinwoo stood up, his tablet displaying the modified barrier design. Sir, I believe we have a solution. If we reconfigure the barrier to create a stable interface zone, we can stop the damage to both dimensions. On the holographic display, Dr. Mirai from Rimiki nodded. Our team has reached the same conclusion. The blueprint pattern that appeared on our screens actually contains part of the solution. It's as if someone or something is trying to help us. Director Su-jin, who represented Earth Command, shook her head. Earth Command will never agree to reduce the energy harvest. Billions of lives depend on that power. Billions of lives will be lost if we do nothing, Junho countered firmly, both human and wave beings. Captain Sang-min, who had returned from his mission, spoke up. Commander, we've seen what happens when we try to fight the wave entities. Conventional weapons are useless, and our specialized weapons only make them angry. We can't win this through force. Lieutenant Hana, who had been analyzing the station's systems, added her report. The barrier control systems are rejecting Earth Command's override attempts now. It's as if the wave itself is fighting back. We might be able to make the changes locally without Earth's approval. Junho made his decision. Then that's what we'll do. Jinwoo, you'll lead the team to modify Frairen's barrier controls. Dr. Mirai will coordinate the same changes on Rimiki. What about the strange entity that appeared? Asked Security Chief Yoon from Rimiki. The one that's different from the others? We've been calling it the emissary, Dr. Mirai explained. It seems to be a representative of these old ones, mentioned in the messages. It hasn't shown hostility, but it hasn't offered much help either. It just watches. Junho looked at the countdown display. Whatever its purpose, we don't have time to figure it out now. We need to focus on the barrier modifications. Everyone has their assignments. Let's move. As the meeting ended, Jinwoo gathered his engineering team. They would need to reach the main barrier control hub, located in the outer ring of Frairen, an area now filled with breaches and wave entities. We'll need protection, Jinwoo told Commander Junho. But not weapons. We need to show we're not a threat. Junho nodded in understanding. I'll go with you myself. Captain Sangmin, assemble. A small team. No heavy weapons. On Rimiki, Dr. Mirai prepared for a similar journey to their barrier controls. She had convinced Chief Science Officer Tae-wan that their best chance was to bring Yoon with them. The wave being understands the barrier better than we do, Mirai explained. With its help, we might be able to implement the changes correctly, the first time. As both teams prepared to depart, a message came through from Earth Command. Director Kang's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim. This is your final warning, he said coldly. Any attempt to modify the barrier without authorization will be considered treason. Earth is sending ships to take control of both stations. They will arrive in 10 hours. Junho cut the transmission without responding. That just made our deadline more urgent, he told his team. Let's move. The journey through Frairen's corridors was dangerous. The station had changed dramatically in the past hours. In some sections, the walls had become transparent, showing glimpses of the wave dimension beyond. Strange plants made of crystallized energy grew from the floors. The air itself felt different, charged with possibility. Jinwoo led the way, following the mapping program he had created to navigate the changed layout of the station. The barrier control hub should be just ahead, he said, checking his tablet. They turned a corner and stopped in surprise. The corridor ahead was blocked by a group of wave entities. Unlike the hostile ones they had encountered earlier, these stood quietly as if waiting. Seok, the first entity they had met, floated forward. You seek to change the barrier, Seok stated. We will help. Junho stepped forward cautiously. Why would you help us now? Your people were attacking us earlier. Not all of us want destruction, Seok replied. Some understand that our futures must be joined. The old ones have shown us the way forward. With no better options, Junho agreed to let the entities accompany them. Together, the strange group continued toward the barrier control hub. On Rimiki, Dr. Mirai's team was making similar progress with Yoon's help. The wave being led them through sections of the station that had become dangerous, protecting them from hostile entities. There are factions among my kind, Yoon explained as they walked. Some wish to destroy all humans for the damage done to our realm. Others seek peace. The arrival of the emissary has divided us further. What exactly is the emissary? Tae-wan asked. Is it one of your kind? No, Yoon replied. It is one of the old ones, those who existed before both our kinds. They created the barriers between dimensions long ago, and now they watch as we decide whether to tear them down or rebuild them differently. Both teams reached their barrier control hubs with just 5 hours left on the countdown. The work was complex and dangerous. Any mistake could cause the already unstable barriers to collapse completely, destroying both stations and possibly both dimensions. Jinwoo worked side by side with engineer Du-young, carefully reprogramming the barrier systems. Seok and the other wave entities provided guidance, showing them how the energy should flow in both directions. It's like creating a permeable membrane, Jinwoo explained to Commander Junho as they worked. Energy will flow both ways, creating balance instead of drain. On Rimiki, Dr. Mirai made a breakthrough. The blueprint pattern, she exclaimed. It's not just a modification plan, it's a completely new type of barrier, one designed for coexistence rather than separation. With just 1 hour remaining, both teams finished their modifications. The moment of truth had arrived. They needed to activate both stations' changes simultaneously for the new barrier to form properly. Rimiki, are you ready? Junho asked over the communication channel. Ready, Frairen, Tae-wan confirmed. Jinwoo and Mirai counted down together, then activated the new systems. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the energy patterns on their screens began to change. The chaotic spikes of the damaged barrier smoothed into a flowing, circular pattern. Throughout both stations, the breaches stopped growing. The walls between dimensions became transparent but stable. Wave entities and humans could see each other clearly now, but neither could pass through without permission. In the space between Frairen and Rimiki, something new formed, a shimmering area where both dimensions overlapped. The emissary appeared there, visible to everyone through the transparent barriers. "The convergence is complete," it announced, its voice reaching all minds on both stations. "The experiment continues, but with new parameters. Learn to exist together or neither will exist at all." As the countdown reached 0, the stations shuddered one final time. When everything settled, the new reality became clear. Frairen and Rimiki now existed in both dimensions simultaneously, partly in physical space, partly in the wave. Commander Junho and Chief Science Officer Tae-Wan met with Seok and Yoon in the newly created Convergence Zone, a shimmering space where humans and wave beings could interact safely. "This is only the beginning," Seok told them. "There is much your kind does not understand about the wave, and much we do not understand about physical existence." Junho nodded solemnly. "Then we have much to learn from each other." In the distance, Earth ships approached, unaware of the transformation that had taken place. The crews of Frairen and Rimiki prepared to explain their new reality to those who had tried to stop it. And somewhere, deep in the wave, the old ones watched with interest, their greater purpose still hidden from both the humans and wave beings who had just taken their first steps toward a shared future. The breach in the wave had become a bridge instead,